Create a presentation using Premiere. As I may have mentioned in the previous presentation, in order to begin your presentation in Premiere, you will first have to have an audio track recorded in order to have something to line your slides up with. This narrative needs to be scripted first so that you know what you're going to say. It is not a good idea to attempt to put together a presentation off the cuff. You won't come off sounding professional. There are many number of devices that you can employ to do this, from digital audio recorders to digital audio visual cameras. In the previous presentation, I showed you briefly how to use the audio capture program like GarageBand, but there are many devices and programs that you can use. The trick is to get the recordings off from the device in a file format that Premiere can use. In this case, you will want an MP3 file, and most of these devices and programs allow you to create exactly that. Next, you're going to need to create a script for use creating your narrative. As I may have mentioned in the previous presentation, you probably already created yours when you did your InDesign presentation. All of the text in it represents the same information that you are now going to recite. Your presentation now simply becomes a narrated slideshow. In InDesign, you created text fields inside the page-making program to describe the content on each page. The output was a static PDF slideshow that the viewer has to read. You are now going to be creating much the same thing, only this time you will be reading your script from either InDesign or from a PDF version using Acrobat Reader. In order to make reading the script a bit easier, you might want to convert everything that you wrote in InDesign into a Word document. Maybe some of you started in that program and simply cut and pasted what you were going to say into InDesign. If so, so much the better, as you're already done. I found that reading from Word documents are much easier. It makes everything more linear, but that's just me. Whatever works for you. The other thing that you're going to need, of course, are your images. Again, you have already created the slideshow, and in that slideshow everything was in order and placed in layers. We will use it for our slideshow in Premiere. Once you've located all of the things, then you're pretty much ready to begin with your presentation. Be sure to know where each of the documents are: the slideshow, the audio, and the script. You will need to reference the script because it's keyed to whatever slide you have coming up next. And as you listen to your audio on the timeline, you will need to know where it is in time to introduce the next slide. The script will help keep you on track. Next, we'll open Premiere from the program file in the MCC applications. Simply click on the icon to get the program to open up. Like any of the Adobe programs, sometimes it takes a while to open up. Premiere can sometimes take a while. One of the first dialog boxes that you will encounter will be the Premiere Pro panel, and it asks you if you want to create a new project, which of course you do. The next box opens that asks you to name your project. It isn't entirely necessary at this point. However, if you're going to continue to save this document as you work on it, you want to save it into a safe location, like your peripheral hard drive. In that case, you might want to remember what the document is called. Now it's time to hit OK in the lower right corner, and Premiere will open a new project window like this. This next step is why it's so important for you to remember where everything is located, because now you're going to have to start importing things into Premiere. To do so, simply go to File, Import. And the first thing that we are going to need is our audio track, because the length of it determines everything about our presentation, from where it starts to where it ends and where all of the images are positioned along the way. So here it is. Although when I go to look for it in Premiere, it will be located like this. You may see a box like this, in which case you will want to click OK. And the audio file will appear here in the Project Management window. In my case, my audio was obtained from a camera, so I have both an audio and a video file combined. Next, I drag and drop the combined audio-video track to the timeline, the window immediately to the right. Note that you can see that there are two tracks here. You may only have one in your case, and it will be the bottommost, or the audio track. I have to make this extra step here of eliminating the video track because I have no further use for it. This is a good time to show you how to do some editing. So, in order to get rid of the video from the audio, I will do a right click, and when the window opens, I will choose Unlink. This separates the tracks from one another. I can then highlight the top track or the video track and delete it. The sound track or the audio is still there. The next step is to bring in our images or the slideshow. Again, go to File, Import, and a window will again open, and you will need to find your slideshow images and import them. However, the next thing you will need to do is to make a decision about the images. Remember, when you did them in Photoshop, they were in layers. You want to retain those layers as you bring them into Premiere. Note here that there appears to be individual layers. You want to keep all of them open. To do this, you will need to open the Import As box at the top and choose Individual Layers from the selection. Now click OK. As you can see, you can scroll up and down the stack of images. Be sure that they are all checked off, otherwise they won't import. If you made sure to leave all of your layers on in Photoshop, they should all appear as checked here. Note that the new file has appeared in the Project Management window. These are all of your images. Simply double-click on the file folder icon, and all of your images will open in the source file location directly above. Now, by dragging and dropping your images into the timeline, you will begin to see them appear in the window to the upper right. This window displays the combined audio and video images, or what your presentation will look like when it's done. If you click on the play arrow here, you will begin to see the playhead advance across the timeline. You will also hear your voice doing the narration that you recorded earlier. By listening carefully to the audio and by carefully following along with your script, you will be able to tell when to stop one image from showing by expanding the image using your Move tool, the topmost tool in the palette on the left side in the timeline. Now you can drag the next image and lengthen it to fit the narration. All the construction of your presentation will take place inside of the timeline. You will play and view it in the window above. Now, there are lots of tricks and methods of correcting and editing things inside of Premiere. I will help to show you how to do this in class, but first I wanted to give you some idea of how the program works. Here I have my nearly completed project in the timeline. I have used the sliders at the bottom of the timeline to condense everything so that you can see the entire presentation all at once. This is not the best way to work on a project. You will of course want all of your layers expanded in order to be able to line all of the images up with the narration. You may also have to make corrections to mistakes that you've made in the audio track. We'll get to that in class. But for now, we're ready at this point to save our project. So unless you have already named your Premiere profile, now's the time to do so. Go to File, Save As, and be sure to give it a recognizable name in the Save As window, and a good location to save it under the Where window, and then hit Save. It is now time to export the document from the format that can be played most anywhere, such as an MP4. To do this, go to the File, Export, Media. From the Format window, pull down and choose the H.264 format. This converts the Premiere profile into an MP4 file. You will now want to click on the Output name box, and another Save As dialog box will appear. This is the location where the MP4 file will be sent. Be sure to give it a recognizable name and pay attention to where it's going to go in the Where box. And the process of converting the Premiere profile to an MP4 begins. This may take a while, dependent upon how long your presentation is. Mine is about 15 minutes long, and it starts out saying that the encoding will take about 14 minutes and 43 seconds, but then it quickly jumps up to nearly an hour. However, then it drops back, and here it is at 13 minutes and some change. Keep your eye on the progress bar to make sure that it is advancing properly. Usually there aren't any glitches. When it's done, it looks like this. You will need to minimize the program and look at the location where you directed the files to go. Here's mine located in my recovery file where I had it directed to go. If I right-click on the file and go Open with QuickTime Player, it will open up and be ready to play. All I need to do is to push the play button on the file and it will start up. Now, as I said, there are many tricks and things that can be done inside of Premiere. I will demonstrate those to you in class. But first, I want you all to get a good overview of what using the program looks like. More on the how-tos here in a moment.